where you are joining me from. Thank you, Amarachi from Enugu. Oh my, I love Enugu people and their soups. Praise is joining from Nigeria. Okay, beautiful. Modupe is joining from Lagos. Thank you, Modupe. Tochi from Lagos. Bemisola also from Lagos. Motala is also joining from Lagos. Oh my, I have my namesake here, although mine is Motolani. Ngozi is joining from where? Let me check. Thank you for everyone who's joining in. Ngozi is joining from Lagos. Queen Victoria also from Lagos. Oh my, Pony is joining from Nairobi, Kenya. I am coming in shortly. I need to keep in touch with you so that you can take me round. Moni, you need to note that I'm coming to your country shortly. Chris is joining from Benin City. Thank you, Chris, for joining in. Alice from Lagos, Gloria from Lagos, Ronke from Lagos. Thank you. Rosalind also from Lagos. Mega from Lagos. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Folashadin from Ekpe. Ekpe with the fish. Okay. Omopolanle from Lagos. Thank you for joining in. Joy also from Lagos. And Yola from Dublin. Beauty from Lagos. Thank you, Beauty, for joining. Adenike from Ibadan, me people. It's good to have you here. Tolu from Lagos, Emmanuel from Lagos, Teresa also from Lagos, Hawa from Ile-Ife. I love the fact that we have people from different, location joining us this evening. I love that. So that we can talk about the different things happening in Ile-Ife. How is parenting in Ile-Ife? Are you dealing with the same thing that we're dealing with in Lagos? And for people who are joining from Abuja, from Nairobi, from wherever you're joining from, are we all dealing with the same issue, or some issues are peculiar to your location? We're going to find out this evening. Emmanuel, thank you for joining from Ibadan. Adele from Abuja, Ngozi from Lagos. Thank you. I can see all the Lagos people. Lagos. Paradventure, okay, I can see Oluwakemi from Warri. Okay, Warri people are here too. Amazing. I can see Nella from Dublin. Okay, I think I saw that earlier. I can see Pastor Ria Day from Ibadan. I can see people from Lagos, Abuja. It's okay. I can see your message, Moni. No worries, sis. Okay. I'm going to be in your DM because we really need to tour that country. I hear it's very beautiful. Okay, I can see people from Lagos, Abuja. I can see Ayodeji from Ado Ekiti. Thank you for joining in. He is from Akure, Zuki. Yeah, I'm correct. Zuki from Enugu. Okay, so thank you. Plateau Jobs. Oh my. I love when I see the diversity of people from different places come together to talk about this topic. I'm super excited. Thank you again for everyone who's joining. Now, if you have friends who should join us and they are not here, we will drop the YouTube link right now. What I need you to do is send it to all your friends. See, no child is safe until every child is safe. If you think that your own child is doing very well, don't forget that your child cannot exist alone. They would have to mingle with other children. So don't say, as long as I am here, it's okay. As long as I am learning about parenting and my children turn out right, is okay. It is not okay, because no child is safe until every child is safe. You need to always remember that. There is a particular story that I love to share all the time about a girl. There was a family who had a young girl, and she had a friend. She was about 8 years old, and the mother, this family had the opportunity to groom this young girl. Their daughter had a friend who was also, age mate. They were age mates. They were 8 years, But this family feels, oh, this girl will corrupt our daughter. We don't want her to mingle with our daughter because she's being raised by a single mom. We don't like her values. Where they can as well support our mother to be able to groom this young lady, because this young lady is actually a friend to their daughter, right? But no, they didn't do that. I'm not blaming them because they don't know better. They were only concerned about their daughter, and probably would have done the same if I don't know, like if I don't have the knowledge I have right now too, because everybody is about protecting their own children, forgetting that you see that child, that young boy that will fail to co-parent, that young girl that will fail to co-parent can come and haunt us right in the future. Now, fast forward to about 15 years afterwards. The father, that is the husband in that perfect family, has impregnated this other young girl. I hope you understand this, my story. I'm talking about real life story. Like I am aware, I know this family. Now, what I'm trying to say is, if this perfect family had worked on their friend, their daughter's friend, who they feel was, exhibiting some behaviors that they were not proud of, or they didn't want their daughter to mingle with. If the family had said, you know what, let's bring you in. Since you're from a single mother, we could groom you as much as we're grooming our own daughter, understanding that parenting has to live. We have to stop this, oh, my child, me, and we all have to go back to community parenting. Fast forward, she's gone out there, she's been exposed to some abuse. Now she's gone back to date the father of her friend. And the mother is crying to say, I knew it all along that this girl was bad influence, was blah, 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 and whatsoever. But right now, this young girl that you didn't groom, as alongside your daughter, has come to take your husband away. And this is a real life story. And that's why I say no child really is safe. And that the children that will live out there, what do you think happens to those children, those boys that we see that rob in traffic? The people who go about kidnapping other people. All of these children, all these people, they came from a family. So I need us to, if you need to get your water ready. If you need to you need to get your writing materials ready, because parenting is serious business. You need to get your writing materials ready to be able to jot down all the learnings from this session. And please, most importantly, if you are having any challenges with your parenting right now, do not hesitate to drop your questions in the chat room, whether you're joining on Zoom or you're watching live on YouTube. Please prepare your question. Now, I wanted to ask a question. How has parenting been so far? Do you think that the new way of parenting is better than what it used to be? Because I hear people say, oh, our parents did better with us. They were always spanking us, they parented us better. What would you vote for if we're supposed to cast a vote and say old parenting and new parenting? Parents, please go into the chat room. I need to know what you're voting for. Are you voting for this new learning or this new way of parenting, or you would want to go with our old way of parenting, saying that it has produced the kind of people that we have right now? So I'm going to be waiting in the chat room. Okay, so Omotola says, well, I feel a bit of both new and old. Okay, so Omotola, would you want to explain further? If you can unmute yourself, it would be nice. Can you tell us what parts of the new would you want to hold on to, and what part of old would you want to hold on to? Temitope is saying new. Omar says new parenting. Praise says a bit of both, actually, but predominantly old. Ngazi says a blend of both for me. Okay. Someone says, I didn't get that story. I know it's not the crux of this meeting, but I would appreciate a summary from any one of us. Okay. Let me give you a background of the story. If I understand what Tamarachi is saying, there is a family who had a young girl, and this young girl had a friend who this parent or this family didn't take responsibility for. She grew up and she came back to eventually scatter that home. The learning or the lesson, however, is that every chance that we have, let's help other parents parent their children. Don't say, no, it's just me, my child. No child is safe until every child is safe. And the child that we leave, to say, go sort it out yourself. Let your parents figure out how to parent you, might grow up to be the one that will trouble our world. What we're saying is we need to learn to collaborate and do parenting together. I hope that explains it and that gives you a summary of what we're talking about. All right, please, who wants to unmute themselves and share your perspective? I want to have a live perspective. Tell me what you think, the old way of parenting or the new way. Someone is saying, I think I saw a question briefly where someone is asking what timing. So let's say some 15, 20 years back, because the children that we have now, they are called Gen Z and Gen Alpha, right? So what we're saying is the old way or the new way of parenting. What do you think? Which one do you think that we should? Okay, admin, can you help me unmute Omotola Lawal so that she can share a perspective with us? And yes, if you want to also share your perspective with us, you can as well raise your hand and we would unmute you and then we can kick off this conversation. Thank you, Omotola.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this privilege. Okay, so from my own perspective, I feel a bit of both would be nice in the sense that the generation we are having right now is the generation of the social media, the internet. Growing up back then, there was nothing like that, nothing of such. Okay, so we'll discover that my generation, let me take for example, my generation as well, while growing up, my mom, for example, my mom doesn't have to talk with the whole of her mouth, if you understand what I mean.
Of course.
When she gives that sign, God bless your soul if you are not getting it.
You just know your
Do you
own
understand that? Exactly. So, but the generation we are having right now is the generation of we will ask, Mom, what's wrong with your eyes? Why are you blinking? Something. I mean, what's going on? Do you understand? It's the generation that we ask you that, Mom, no, you don't say that. That's not what we are talking about. You are this. In as much as I want to believe is good for kids to express themselves, but at the same time, there should be limits. There should be a place of when you talk to your child, when you say some certain things without you opening the whole of your mouth, he or she will understand and will be able to decode what you're talking about. I don't know if you are getting what I'm saying.
Yes, I do.
And not okay, so I will give an instance. There was a particular friend of mine who had to withdraw a child from a particular school. What happened was in that school, they pay so much. It's actually a secondary school. And the teacher was trying to correct the pupil, one of the days, saying that I didn't even know what he did. And this boy said to the teacher, "Excuse me, who do you think you are? I can buy you. I mean, I can buy your own generation. You don't talk to me like that." So during the PTA, the teacher, that's whatever was being raised, and the father stood up, the father of this child, and said to the teacher, "You don't have no right to correct my child in such manner. Why? I am paying you to teach him. I am paying. The reason why I'm paying this school, his school fees, is for you to teach him. Leave the morals to me." So you could imagine in the next 10, 15 years, what that child will turn out to be in the society. That is the generation we are in right now. That's the truth. The generation whereby a lot of things they see on social medias, you see kids hiding behind the social media and abusing, parents, men and women old enough to be their grandparents, for God's sake.
I hear you.
Thank you so much, do that during my own time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I hear you. And that's why we're here to discuss all of this. But because of time, I'm just going to take two more people, and that is Omar and Zuki. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Omar, please, let's hear you.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Please, I need your video on. If you're going to be talking, I need to see your fine face like you're seeing mine. Let's agree on that. Everyone who is going to be talking on this, or in fact, as many parents that could put their video on, it would be really lovely. I don't want to be alone here. I want to see your faces. Please.
Okay, just give me 1 minute. Maybe somebody else could talk. Let me sit properly.
Okay, so Zuki, let's take you while Omar quickly puts on that powder that she wants to put on.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hope you can see me.
Yes, I can.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, thank you for this time. And I just want to greet everybody, all protocols observed. Okay, we're talking about parenting and whether we should use the old style or the new style. And for me, I would say whatever parenting technique that works for our time is what we should use. I don't want to narrow it down to old or new. Why am I saying that?
Good.
In the old times, as in when we were raised up, children, as in we then, we depended on our parents and only those around us for every information we needed. But right now, you realize that even before you've talked about a thing, your children have gotten every information from the media, from the net, because information is available. So you find out that you're battling with, okay, what kind of information have they received? So probably even before you think of telling them about a thing, they've already heard so much garbage, or whether at times they hear the good ones, but at times they have heard so much of the bad ones, internalized it. So you can't afford to be coming from the angle of, don't you know I know better than you? They've heard so much. So you're even trying to battle with how can you even get them to even understand that probably what they've heard is not the right thing. So definitely the times we're in, the seasons we're in, is a whole lot different. It's not like when we grew up. When we grew up, I still remember then. I remember even as at when I was even dating my husband, there was nothing like phones in houses. The chocolate of mobile phone. So you have to post a letter in 3 months' time. Do you understand? Before you get your own report. I'm talking about the days of night post. But now we're talking about email instantly. You're even talking about chats, as in once you chat somebody, you get a response immediately. So much has changed. So we can't afford to use the old ways our parents use. We have to find out, okay, now we are in this digital era. Like now you talk about the Gen Z side that is so tech conscious. There's this video of a Gen Z baby that even from birth, when you are giving birth to them, they even know so much about the internet than you, than you. So it's not like you have them, they learn even from outside, from the environment. They go to school. You can even decide to deprive them of the computer at home. But remember, even the school have them. They have them. So you're not only dealing with training your child, but being sure that even as they interact with other children they meet in the environment, that they can still retain the right value system. So that's why we can't afford to do things the way our parents did them. So I'll stop for now. There's so much to say, but I have to stop for others. Thank you.
Thank you, Zuki. I love, but was it Zuki that mentioned, or the first person, when you talk about, how your mother will give you one eye. That eye, you better understand what it means, because that eye, I remember a particular time. Please spotlight Omar while I quickly share the story. I remember a guest came to the house, and we were not allowed to take fizzy drinks like the Coke. My mother felt like the sugar was too much, it wasn't healthy. And Omar is who you are spotlighting, admin, not Tomotala Lawao. Omar. All right. And so a guest came to the house. They are taking the drink, and then she left some in the bottle. And then she said, Tolani, you can have the rest. Of course I wanted. And my mother looked at me. You know that look of, they born you well, collect that drink. But of course, I looked at her. I wanted the drink. I knew the consequences of taking the drink, but I decided to take the drink anyway and face the consequence whichever way. And I did, and then the rest is history. You can imagine what happened to me. So yes, there are lessons that we can pick from the old, where you can give signs to your children and they understand exactly what you're trying to communicate. Let's have you, Omar, in 60 seconds.
Okay, sorry. Good evening, everyone. I think the former speaker has said practically some of the things I wanted to say. But the part I want to stress is a lot of people we like the old because it doesn't require much effort. You know, with the old, just shout, everybody aligns. You don't, that, how will I say, that closeness, that communication with our children was not there. A lot of adults are grown and so many are dealing with so many issues. It looks as if everybody is all right, but a lot of people are not all right. So many people are dealing with trauma from childhood, from not being able to communicate with their parents, not being able to express themselves. You have problems, you can't even meet your parents and say, these are the issues that I have. So that's why I think I tilt more towards the new parenting, because I think we are more empathetic, we are more aware, we are more conscious of how we parent our children. We are willing to learn, to unlearn, and willing to go the extra mile for them. So for me, I think I like the new parenting style, and I think I align more with it, because for most of us, some of us do not even have good relationship with our parents. It's just superficial, my dad, my mom, and all that. But you hardly see them sit down, have a good rapport and all that. And I still believe with the new parents, you can still instill discipline in your children if you do it the right way. Even, yes, I heard somebody say, oh, those days when they look at you, you align and all that. These days we still look and they still align. Yes, our children, my child will still not take something from strangers or visitors and eat. And I'm parenting in a new way and all that. So I just think a lot has changed actually. And I think we all need to embrace and also be more conscious of letting our children have a voice and being able to express themselves. That's all for me.
Thank you so much, Omar, for sharing that. Everyone who shared this evening, thank you so much. You know, I was dealing with I met a woman who was, having issues with her parenting. And I was so interested in how our childhood was, because oftentimes the issues that we have with parenting is coming from when we were children ourselves. Some of us have traumas that we have not dealt with. And I was talking to this lady and she said that growing up as a child, somebody touched her. Right? So someone was trying to molest her. I think the guy had already touched her. And then she ran home to tell her mom, to say, Mom, this is what this person has done. This person violated me. Rather than the mother maybe going to fight for her or, empathizing with her, like Omar said, like empathy is very needed in parenting this day. The mother took her in, beat the hell out of her and told her why she would have allowed herself to be violated. A child has just ran home to say I was violated. And then the mother beat her up. Then the mother put in pepper into her private part to say, oh, you want to start having sex, right? And nothing was done to the person that violated her. And this lady grew up with that. And it was really bad. So we had to take her through a lot of, therapy to help her heal, because she just finds herself getting angry unnecessarily. She wants to do better. She told herself, she said, the challenging part is, I don't like how my parent parented me. And I told myself that I was going to do better. But I don't know how I am doing exactly what. I don't know why I am doing exactly what I have complained about my parents. So it's important that parents, we also need to get healing. Very, very important. Who is sharing screen? Oh, okay. So it's very important that even as parents, we pay attention to ourselves. Are you hurting from something that your parents did? If you are, get help. Get help. Try and heal up. But it's okay. That's why we're here. And that's why at Praise for International, we support your wholeness. We support you as a parent. We help you with your teenagers. Now, let me go to YouTube and see people who are joining in. Beautiful. If you are on this call, see, Mr. Praise is in here for us now. If you're on this call and you have not shared this link to at least 10 people, you are wrong. You are wrong. So I'm going to wait for another 3 minutes and allow us to do that. Admin, please send the YouTube link, to the Zoom call here. Every parent on this call, you need to send this link to at least 10 parents. Don't forget what I said. Parenting needs to leave me, and my family. It has to move to community parenting. So it is important. Admin, please share the link. Share the link. While I go to YouTube to see what is happening with my people there, I can see Akikumi, who's joining from Ileife. I can see Ekudayo that joined us from Magboro. Thank you. Everyone who is joining or who joined us on YouTube, I can see you. Olari Waju with Kat, Mitope, everybody joining in from Lagos, from Niger, from Abuja, from Port Harcourt. I love you all. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Akpan, for joining from Bayelsa. I love Bayelsa people too. They have some big, big fishes, you know. Thank you, everyone who was joining. So let me check their comments. Someone says, I want a mixture of both. That is someone who is still responding to the question of which is better, the old way of parenting or the new way. Uchena says new way of parenting. Olasumbo says a mixture of both. Pisobi says a combination of new and old. I could go on and on and on and talk about this. Blessing says, I think combination of both old and new because both has their flaws. Yes, I love the perspective that we have all brought into this conversation to say that, see, some things served us in the old way. Some things are no longer serving us. Rather than now say we will throw away the old, let's take the things that can still serve us. And because I remember those days, there were a lot of community parenting. I remember that I was reading a novel, you know, on the street. I loved to read novels those years growing up. And I was reading on the road. And one of my neighbors saw me and, you know, she hit me and said, would you stop doing that? You're going to, you know, get yourself killed by reading on the road. A bike man can knock you off and all of that. You cannot even stand on the roadside talking to a boy. You are not only worried about my mommy will see me. You are worried about all the other people who will see you. And when they see you, you are finished. When they see you, you will explain to them exactly what you are doing on the road talking to a boy. And that was community parenting because my parents were very busy, but I had people who were neighbors who were also watching out for us. So now is that era where we all need to move into community parenting. Someone is asking for the YouTube link. Yes, please. The link has been shared. Before we go ahead, I need you all on this call to send that link to at least 10 people each. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. When you are done, when you've sent to 10 people, come into the chat room or go on YouTube and tell me done, done. I might have a prize for you, you know. Oh, thank you, Ini, for joining from Bayelsa. Thank you. I might just have a gift for you. Go and share that link with at least 10 parents that you know that should be on this call. Ngozi, that was so fast. Okay, you would need to show me proof. Oh. You guys would need to show me proof. I don't want you coming in and just telling me done, done, done. Okay, so you would need to show me proof that you sent to 10 people. Let's send this across. Let's get at least 1,000 parents on this call because this is important. Your children are mixing with other children in your church. They are joining with other children in school. They don't exist alone. So it is important that everybody within your circle, all your friends, the family friends, the church members, the parents in your child's school, they all need to be aware. They all need to know. They all need to know what is happening because your child does not exist alone. Ngozi said done, okay. Ngozi Lawani says done too, okay. Beauty, done. Okay, she says I've sent to a group of 53 sisters. All right, that's overzealous. You have sent more than, okay, that's okay. Please send to all the groups that you're in and say, see, something is happening right here. And I'm super excited that Mr. Praise Wowe is in right now. How many of us are? If I have 20 done, then we would move ahead. Mr. Praise is here to, you know, drive this conversation this beautiful evening, but I need up to 10 done. Done, done, done. Give me more done. I need proofs. Give me more done. We need to be intentional about our parenting, and it's not just about our family, but other families that you can help. Done, 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 done. Praise Jonathan. Okay, thank you. Let me go to YouTube and see what is happening with my YouTube people. Thank you, mighty woman. Thank you. Oduola, thank you for joining. Okay, Adebimpe says I did before you told us to. Oh my, thank you so much. Everyone who is saying done. Okay, I think I have about 20 done now. Thank you, Delphine, for joining from Liberia. Thank you, thank you. Someone is saying I've done to groups, not just individual. Beautiful. Thank you, Mr. Praiseful. How are you doing this beautiful evening? Admin, can you please unmute Mr. Praise? Okay, beautiful.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening. How are you doing?
We're doing very well. We're super excited to have you on the call. All right, we're just going to go right away into Mr. Praiseful session. But before we do, if you need to take water, please get a bottle of water beside you right now. If you need to snack on anything, just get your biscuits or your chips, just get it beside you. But most importantly, you need your writing materials. And while Mr. Praiseful will be taking his session, I need you to begin to note down your question, whatever question whatsoever that you have. Now, to make this, for us to be able to maximize our time tonight, Mr. Praise would only talk for about 30 minutes so that we have enough time to ask questions. Is that fine? Can I get a yes, yes, yes in the chat room? Is that fine? Mr. Praise has 30 minutes to address us, but I want us to ask questions around your parenting, whatever challenges that you're having whatsoever on parenting. And you two people, don't worry, I'm with you. I'm right here with you people. All right, over to you, Mr. Praise.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks so much for joining, wherever you're joining from. I am excited to be with you. This is like our second webinar for the year, thereabout. And so I believe that we're going to have a great time today. I'm going to be speaking to, sorry, admin, I can't share my screen. Can you do something about this? I'm excited to be with you, and I believe that we have a whole lot to learn today. Because if you have been as worried as I am about Generation Z and Alpha and every conversation about them, then I'm sure this should interest you, because right now, what we're dealing with in our world is getting out of hand, especially with new nations coming up with all kinds of different legislations. A lot of parents reach out to me and they're talking about some of the challenges they are having with their young people. Right, so I am going to take this methodically. I don't know if 30 minutes will be sufficient for me, but don't worry. If you can stay, I can stay, right? The conversation is about understanding and addressing the unique challenges of the Generation Z, right? And so at the end of this particular discussion, I believe that you would have discovered the war we're faced with, 5 reasons why you struggle with your Gen Zs. Don't worry, I will skip the 3 and I'll talk about the best template to succeed with the Generation Z. Because every time I travel, I have parents talk to me about the challenges they're dealing with every day, right? And so I believe that they've given you the ground rules. Anything that's going to distract you within the time frame that I have, please kill it, eliminate it, drop your phones, except if you're using your phone to join me. For those of you on YouTube, I doff my hat for you. I usually love for everyone to be in the same room. I don't know what's happening today, right? But I'm sure that you guys are hearing me loud and clear. If you have a friend, family members, whatever country they are in, you can tell them to join this discussion. Now, if you're on Zoom with me, maybe you're in the same room with me, I need you to change your name on your Zoom to your full name, including any title. Maybe you are a doctor, you are a chief. Please kindly do that. Now, I will start by saying that we are officially at war. And I'm sure by now you know that this war has started a long time ago, but it's become more intense. For those of you in Africa, it may not be as fierce as those of us in North America. I live in North America and I know what we face. I mean, if I live in like 2 countries, Canada and United States, and I know what parents in Canada, for example, are faced with right now. It's almost as if the new predators are legislations from nations that is trying to say, I mean, on one hand, we are the parents, we pay school fees, we take care of those children, we give them housing, accommodation, we give them, take care of them, If they are sick and they have to do surgery, we pay for the surgery. But on the other hand, the government comes with legislation that makes it look as if we have no say over our children. It's a war. So we are at war. It's a war between biological parents, which is where many of us fall into, and media parents. Media parents don't need your permission before they shoot out content that your children are consuming. Content on social media, content on or traditional media, content everywhere. Then you have the digital parent, right? AI has come, ChatGPT. There are so many questions in the mind of parent with the Generation Z to say, yes, AI is supposed to make our life easy. But how does it affect the capacity of children to think and sweat their brain when everything can be gotten by just, typing your question inside, an app, and it can provide answers to you? Then you are now having the legislative parents, which are legislation from government of nations, which is not in line with what many of us want to promote. So the war is here. But we need to be strategic as parents. And like I always say, the battle lines are very clear if you are a parent who has been observant. The battle lines are four in nature, especially if you're an African parent raising a child in the diaspora or even raising a child within Africa. The battle line is the battle line of identity, it's a battle line of history, it's a battle line of village, and it's a battle line of your mission. Now, in identity, the first challenge is that many of us, we do not know who we are, and our children do not know who they are. If you interact with a typical Jew, they know who they are clearly. If you interact with a typical Indian, they are clear about who they are, and they are not apologetic about it. In fact, their accent hardly changes. If you interact with an African child, you are going to struggle because they don't speak our language, they don't know our history, and they don't know where they're from, and even where the new country that they say they're from is not totally accepting them. So at the realm of their identity, they are floating. When a child's identity is not fully formed, that child becomes susceptible to every whims and caprices of the culture of the nation where he's resident. On one hand, the culture looks like we love you, but on the other hand, you know that child is going to be a mess. Of course, you have the LGBT agenda, which initially everybody thought was a human rights issue, but now is moving beyond human rights to say we're going to impose our will on you. Then the lack of intentionally articulated identity, which I talked about earlier on. It's brought in a situation where our children cannot introduce themselves fully because they don't know who they are. Every time I'm asked to introduce myself, I introduce myself as the descendant of the ancestry that built the first smart city in the world, and that is Benin City. I talk about the Great Benin War between 1300 and 1700. How come? I knew because I studied my history. But many of us don't have the benefit of a history that is very clear to us. And we are not passing that history to our children. Now, if I ask those of you on this call, for example, do your children know their cousins? Do they know the names of all your brothers? Do they know your grandfather's name? Do they know your great-great-grandfather's name? In fact, if you are here on this call, your children know their great-great-grandfather's name and what he achieved. Can you type yes? If your answer is no, can you type no? If you're on YouTube, can you also respond to this? Your children know the name and the exploit of their great-great-grandfather. Can you type yes or no? Let us see. You can see Joy says no, Tola says no, Danica says yes, no. So you can see what we're talking about. Identity is already lost. Now, your great-great-grandfather were men of exploit. There were things they did. But because we have swung into a place of religion, right? We have taken on a new identity. We've lost our own way, right? And so this is a main problem because almost everyone on this call is saying no. That's a problem already. Number two battle line is our history. A people without a history do not exist, and they will be susceptible to whatever people call them. So if we don't have a clearly articulated heritage, if we are not telling ourselves stories as Africans that we are powerful, we are not inferior, and that we are great in our worldview, and that even though our approach may sound cruel to the others, it's not inferior, we will always defer to what the West is sharing with us, which may not be in conformity with who we are. I live in Irving, Texas. I make my amala in my house by myself. I make my begiri and ewedu, because I am not an American. I cannot fully, my body cannot fully assimilate their meal. So I have to prepare my meal, and I cannot even pretend. So what is our heritage and what story are we telling ourselves? Number 3 is the village. Is the battle line of village, which is a battle line of, our support system. That if you see the Indians, they collaborate together. We are struggling to collaborate. So wherever you are, it's no longer going to be sufficient for you to raise your child by yourself. The children must form into the clan system, wherein everybody is raising everybody's children because we have similar values. Who are the custodians and what systems power it? That is one gap that we need to fill. And what is the parenting template for us as Africans that can raise global icons whose mind is totally free, and children who can become whatever they want to become? The number 4 battle line is our mission. Why are we here? Every family must have a message for the world. You must be able to answer that question. What does success mean to us as a people? Does success mean that we are first in class, or does success mean that we are conquering the world and we are promoting values that can transform the world? What does success mean to us? It's a battle line that many of us have not been able to figure out. And who do we represent? When we go out of our house, who do we represent? Who do your children think they represent? Many of them think they represent themselves. But no, they represent your culture, they represent your family heritage, they represent your lineage, and they must be proud of who they truly are. Now, many of our children don't even know who they are, so they go and represent themselves, and they put up a behavior that they copy from others that contradicts your family values. Now, today's conversation is about Generation Z and Alpha. And like I've always shared with you, there are 4 things that define them. If you have been a regular on my webinar, you will be familiar with this right now. In fact, you should be able to quote it. That number 1, the peculiarity of the children you're raising is that their identity is not defined in their quest for truth. They're very open-minded and they love to express individual truth. And your response must be to manage perspectives through the power of questioning. Number 2, they are radically inclusive and connecting to different, which means that they are free-spirited. And that can be a plus, it can also be a minus. But your response is you must blood them into your intentional tribal ideology. What that means is they must know they must know they are Africans, they must be proud of their heritage. You must tell them stories of conquest, of African heroes, and how our people are not weak, and how our people actually have been men of innovation, that we created artifacts that they stole away, right? And they are even unwilling to return some of these artifacts. If they were inferior, they wouldn't have been stolen. So the gene that runs in your vein is a gene of great men, of innovators, of creative people, of people who can transform the world. Number 3, fewer confrontations and more dialogue. Which means as a parent, you need to master how to dialogue with your children. Then they are realistic, pragmatic, looking for the truth behind all things. They are not giving for stuff that can't be proven. Now, having said that, everyone on this call must understand that loud and bold is the new right. So definitions are changing across the globe for these children. So while many preachers are preaching that the virgin is someone whose hymen is intact, we are now saying in our conversations with them, because many of the Generation Z with intact hymen are performing blowjob for $50 per client. Many of them are involved in anal sex, masturbation, voyeurism by boys. So your definition of virginity has got to expand a little bit more. So we say a virgin is anyone who has recognized their personality as a limited edition, a top-of-the-range human, who is willing to get busy to birth a solution that can transform an entire generation without contaminating with any base habit, capable of distracting his or her dream. So the definition has got to be more expansive. right? Many people are still teaching that fornication is when penis enters vagina, but it needs to grow beyond that, especially if you are going to play in their world, because there are so many things that you are doing that is non-penetrative, but can pass the test of fornication, right? So we say that fornication is when you violate your mind by allowing pictures, videos, and thoughts that doesn't represent your identity to find expression there. Now, the big problem is, and that is why many parents are having issues, your Generation Z are in search of who they truly are in the midst of all sorts of contradictory information easily accessible online. So you find them manifest certain behaviors. If you have Generation Z and Alpha, one of the things you would have noticed is that they lack a sense of concentration. They do things halfway. So if you say to them, can you cook? They cook the food halfway, they've forgotten they are on their device. If you say, can you wash plates? They wash the plates halfway. Everything is half, because concentration is low. Now, they have a fickle world view as well. They just think the world is the way it is. No, there's no enemy, there's nobody. They just want to do whatever they like. Meanwhile, the world is not structured that way. Many of them have low thoughtfulness. So sometimes they talk and you are wondering, did you think before you talk? Because they just open their mouth and they say the way they say. That's why they call them Sorosoke. Low resilience ability. Many of them cannot stand the test of time, and that is why mental health challenges like depression has skyrocketed amidst them, because what we went through that toughened us, many of them are no longer doing it. I mean, I was having a conversation and I said, many of you read, crammed times table. You know the discipline of cramming timetable and what that did to your brain. Many of them, they can easily, multiply things and they're just fine. So the mental health challenges is increasing because many of them have low resilience ability. Then they have a quest to belong and make money. There is nothing wrong with that, but many of the parents won't have anything about that. So they say they want to make money. My son was saying to me, my son is 15, going to 16. He said, Daddy, I'm going to buy a big car, a big house, and the mom was like, what won't you face your books right now? And I said, no, you can face the book and still do the big thing, as well, right? Because you don't want to kill their innovative spirit. And also they say, I quit. They are too quick to quit a lot of things. I mean, if you are an employer of labor here and you have them in your office, you know that they are the kind of people that resume work today, and after 1 week, they want to go on annual leave, right? And you are wondering what the heck is going on with you. One of them walked up to my office one day that we hired, and he said, Mr. Prince, I'm going to do this and this. I know this is confidentiality. I don't want to hear this from your mouth, from anybody's mouth. I'm going, and you are going to permit me to go. I just look at her, I don't even know what to say, right? So because if you say to them, you treat them the way the old generation were treated, they are literally going to quit. So today, we need to understand that every misbehavior in them, or what you call misbehavior, is either a non-discovery of self or a non-remembrance of self. So what are the 5 reasons why you struggle with your Generation Z? Number 1 is a clash of dispensation, and it's not your fault. You belong to a different dispensation as their own dispensation. The rules of your dispensation is not the rules of their dispensation. What you love is not what they love. In fact, our social media is not their social media. Many people in my generation, we managed to do Twitter, we managed to do Instagram, we managed to do maybe Snapchat. They have gone beyond that. There are several platforms that they belong to right now, and the way their brain is processing things is totally different. Their worldview is totally different. So when we are unwilling to understand the reality of their age and their time, we are going to have problems with them. So if you are a parent here, we said that you cannot be their teacher without first of all becoming their student. Oftentimes we are arrogant in our approach to say, "Na me born you, I can do whatever I like." Yes, you give birth to them, but you need to understand that the world they're going to live in is not a world you truly understand. Number 2 reason why we have issues with them, or before I go to number 2, you need to understand this diagram. It talks about their leadership style, the music device they use, the iconic toys, the ideal leader, the learning style, and the influencers and advisors in their life. It's to show you that there are different generations. So many of us, understand the builder generation, and some of us understand the baby boomers, the Generation X, the Generation Y, now Generation Z, and Generation Alpha. All of them have their, in fact, including the cars they drive, including their communication device, they are totally different. Number 2 reason why you struggle is low or wrong interpretation skills. inability to go beyond right and wrong in our worldview. So many of us were brought up to think of right and wrong, but there are shades of gray in their world that they now see that goes beyond right and wrong. Our unwillingness to even say it and our unwillingness to interpret it is a problem. So, for example, when we were growing up, if you wear a top that is not covering your navel, as far as our generations are our parents are concerned, you are a prostitute, you are a harlot. But you see, you can actually see them wear those things, and it has nothing to do with harlotry. You see them do tattoo, you see them do piercing, multiple piercing. If you do multiple piercing, my father is going to look at you, no matter your values, no matter what you are doing, my father will look at you as an unserious person, not properly brought up. So if our interpretation is built on the old rule, we're going to misinterpret their good intention. And that is the number 2 reason why many of us struggle. Number 3 is the fear of parenting failure and low communication skills. Many of us are often overpressured, and we assume our success when our child becomes what we want. Your child doesn't have to become what you want. Your child must become what they truly want. That's why the new rules of parenting is to help your child to become the best version of themselves without compromising your value. So you need to quit your fears, right? Because what you fear the most is what you attract. So fear of parenting failure. And so that comes with low communication skills. Many of us talk, and that's why when we talk at them, they talk back at us because they think our words does not have a measure of respect. We are commanding. The Generation Z and Alpha, they don't understand command. They understand persuasion. They understand dialogue. They need you to rent a space in their head. But many of us come to say, I'm paying the bills. Why should I not be able to instruct you on what to do? Right? So fear of parenting failure and low communication skills. Number 4 is lack of respect and unwillingness to understand their worldview. Many of us struggle with them because deep down, we don't show enough respect for them because many of us believe that they are our children, so why should we respect them? But the fundamental laws of attraction says that whatever you respect, you attract. So many of us don't show respect and we are unwilling to understand their worldview. Their worldview is totally different. Have you attempted to watch their movies? Have you attempted to play their games? Their games are so fast that you don't even understand what they are enjoying in the game. But they can be stuck with this game for so many hours that you are wondering, what are they doing really? So if we are not willing to step down from our high horses and come into their world, as students, eager to learn, we will struggle. And that takes me to number 5, low scripting skills, which comes with the stealth system. You cannot change Generation Z and Alpha without bypassing their cautious resistance. Inability to create a template that can effectively script them is a major gap for our generation. And that gap is coming because many of us were raised by emotion. We were not raised by intentionality. Our parents beat us for what we didn't understand. They shouted on us for what we didn't do right. We didn't even know what right and wrong was. They beat us for what they have not taught us, right? But in their generation, it's totally different. If you want to correct them, you need to script them. And there's a way to script them to put them in the conversation. It will be looking as if they are the one taking the decision, but you are inducing and moderating the decision so that they can own it, because whatever Generation Z are not a part of, they're going to sabotage it. Now, at this juncture, I want to ask you, which of these reasons can you easily relate with? I've mentioned 5 of them. I want answers from the chat box. Which of these ones do you think it easily resonates with you out of the 5 I just shared? Can you type it out on the chat box? Maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or all that you relate with in your dealing with your children. Which of them do you think resonates with you perfectly? Can I see? Okay, so Chinwe said all. Okay, where are the other people on this call? Which one resonates with you? Okay, Anoluako said 3. Tomiwa said all. Modupe Olola says all. Fear of failure, all. Fantastic. Right? Having shared this at this juncture, I need you to keep your mind at rest as parents. Because this battle, we're going to win it. You don't have to be worried about anything. We're going to win the battle, and there's a strategy to winning this battle. Because if a generation can rise that is tormenting our soul, then we can script a new generation to restore orderliness into our world, right? If a generation can rise that is tormenting our soul, we must be able to script a new generation to restore orderliness. The challenge is the fact that a new generation have become influencers that we did not raise ourselves. Now, in responding to those tormenting our soul, we must now collaborate to raise a new generation. So the question you are waiting for me to answer is, how do you win with your Generation Z? Now, before I answer that question, I'm going to share with you a brief fundamentals about systems intelligence, because the warfare we are fighting is not a physical battle. It's a warfare of system versus system, where the superior system is going to swallow the inferior system. But many of us in Africa have not been taught about systems intelligence. What we've been taught is emotional intelligence. One, every system has a clear agenda, and loyalty is always to the agenda. That has to be clear to you. Every system has a clear agenda. So your parenting is a system. It must have a clear agenda, and loyalty must be to the agenda. So the LGBT has a clear agenda. They are loyal to the agenda. The AI people have a clear agenda. They are loyal to the agenda. The Chinese have a clear agenda. They are loyal to the agenda. The Russians have a clear agenda. They are loyal to the agenda. Question is, what is the parenting agenda of Africans? Right. Number two, the end result is more important than any other thing in systems engagement. And what must get the job done is what we must deploy. Gone are the days where you are experimenting. We can no longer afford to experiment. We must now be very, very intentional. In fact, precision planning and precision management must replace our emotion. 1 + 1 must now be equal to 2. I know as Africans, we love to pray. I pray a lot. I love to pray as well. But prayer is one dimension. The systems approach is another dimension. That is why I always ask, if you give a child to a terrorist, after 52 weeks, the child will become a terrorist. Why? The potency of the system of the terrorism cell will produce that outcome. The same way, the end result is more important. So you need to keep your eye on who you want your child to become. So if jumping up and down is what it will require to get the child to become that, you must be willing to do it. If refraining from shouting and yelling is what can deliver the outcome, that is what you must be able to do. It must no longer be, I want to do what I want to do, and hoping by God's grace, the result will be produced. The result is not going to be produced. You need to understand the end result is more important than any other thing in engagement. And what must get the job done is what must be deployed. Number 3, the most effective system deploys right and wrong, but transit that plane into peace and progress to get the job done where necessary. What this is simply saying that sometimes you will need to stoop to conquer. So don't be arrogant and say, this was where they raised me. I'm an African man. This is where I must raise my children. It's not going to work with Generation Z. So you need to master moving away from your non-right and wrong into peace and progress to get the job done. To say sometimes you need to pretend as if you understand their ways. You need to get into their dance step, get into their slang, so that you can get into the rent a space in their head and moderate them in the direction that they should go. Next, a system becomes very effective the moment you can no longer question what doesn't add up, yet you can defend it with your life. Many of us defend what doesn't add up, but we can defend it with our life. We can even die there. That is how you know a system that is powerful. The moment your child can believe in your system, even when it's not making sense, and just run with it, you know you have succeeded. Now, the target of every system is your identity. Please don't forget this. Every system around the world that is working against your child, the target is for your child to lose a sense of identity. And that is why nobody can now love your child more than you. Any system, any person that has demonstrated superior love to your child more than you becomes the automatic parent, because the person who is influencing the mind of your child is the real parent. So the target of every system is your child's identity, because once your thinking aligns with the system, you become a subject of the system. That's why in curriculum planning in the educational sector, they talk about subject. The goal of subject is to subject to what you are being subjected to. So you become a subject to what you are subjected to. Basically, that's what it is. So everything is targeting your child's identity. Your role must be to remind your child of who they truly are. Now, you become the most effective parent once you can decipher what governs human behavior and create a counterculture that can deliver the desires of your client regardless of their beliefs. So what does that literally mean? It means that your effectiveness is tied to your capacity to now become a strategist. So you can see the challenges your children are facing, but you can now design a counterculture. Practically, it's something like, so let's say you have a child who loves to party, right? And you say, oh, this my child loves to party, and you say, I'm partying with my children, my friend, and you have no control over where they go, right? Your own counterculture will be, as a family, as a part of our family ritual, we'll create a house party once every month, right? And it will hold in our house. I will be the DJ. I will join the dance step. Now, it will look like you are part of their party, but what you have done is you have brought the party to a controlled environment where they can still party, but under your controlled environment, they're not going to drink what they would have drank where you have no control over. What you have simply done is, while looking as if you have accepted them, you have created a counterculture. If you are still with me, can you type yes? Can you type yes? Let me see you type yes. Let me see you type yes. I'm on YouTube. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, we're still here. Yes. Fantastic. Now, the first thing you need to do, if you want to win with your Generation Z, you need to create a perceptual code and submit yourself to the engagement code. I have always taught you here that a perceptual code is a general word that describes the identity of the child you want to raise. Once you pick that perceptual code, it does not matter what behavior your child is exhibiting, you stay with the perceptual code and stay with the engagement code. For example, if you say every child in my family is a royalty, or every child in my family is a celebrity. So let's pick the perceptual code celebrity. Who is a celebrity? A celebrity is an influencer. So the question you must ask is, how are celebrities raised? Number two, how do you correct celebrities? 3, what curriculum do you deploy to raise a positive celebrity? 4, what environment do you create to ensure a celebrity emerges? Right. Now, it doesn't mean all of them are going to be singers. It just means in whatever field of endeavor every child in your family chooses to go to, they're going to be celebrities there. So if I were the consultant working with you, I will create a red carpet system in your family where, because they're celebrities, I will ensure that the way they dress reflects that, and everybody will take paparazzi pictures every day when we go out and when we come in, and we'll post in our family album or in our family forum, something like that. So you need to create a perceptual code. For example, if your perceptual code is every child is a diplomat, question is, how do you raise a diplomat? You need to go online and learn. What environment do you create to raise a diplomat? How do you correct diplomat? You don't shout on diplomat, you don't yell on diplomat, so your perceptual code changes you. And this is so critical in engaging your Generation Z. And whatever the protocol is for raising such a child, you need to submit yourself to it. Number 2, thing you need to do to win with them, you need to co-create an intentional curriculum that reinforces the identity you want to promote and discuss their concerns. What does this mean? Why am I saying co-create? Whatever Generation Z are not a part of, they are not going to promote it. So if you say, for example, we are raising a family of diplomats, so we want to create a curriculum that all of us will be studying together and all of us will be doing assignments together. So what do you think should be in the curriculum? Ask them, oh, mom, for us to be diplomats, we need to be watching this, diplomats on YouTube. They will begin to tell you celebrities and people change the world in their own way, right? So study them and say, okay, we have this to the curriculum. When they have a sense of input, they will drive the process and it will help them. And why are you doing this? So for example, in my family, we have a curriculum called the Royalty. The Royalty is a compendium of videos of people that change the world on YouTube, 10 minutes video. I collected the entire video and my children will listen to 10 minutes video every day. and we will have conversation. I have a teenager right now who is a Generation Z, and we have surprisingly an exciting relationship. And people always ask me, how come you are this close and you can talk about anything? I said, it's because I respect him enough to co-create things with us. Now, so when they discuss it, I'm with them, we're all learning together, and we're thinking about application. So you need to co-create that intentional curriculum based on the perceptual code you have created. The goal is it must be something that reinforces the identity. And I'll tell you why this is important. When our parents were raising us, our parents were not intentional. All kinds of things enter our head, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We watch horror movie. We watch Burning Hell that traumatizes us. We listen to funny music. We watch some movies I'm from the Yoruba speaking part of Nigeria. We watch some movies about juju, about people with jazz, about Abijah, funny people, right? The question is, if you look at your brain right now and the quality of what entered your brain as a child, who do you think you would have become? Do you think you would have become a genius? The answer is no. Our parents allowed all sorts into our mind, not because they were wicked. That was the best they could do. So you need to co-create intentional curriculum that reinforce the identity. So if your children listen to that over and over and over again, it begins to shape who they become and how they behave. Number 3, you need to create the right environment and become their student to moderate the excesses. You need to be willing to discuss what you consider as excesses, not with a bit to judge, but with a bit to understand. So when they do something you don't approve or that contradicts, what you don't believe is right, you want to engage and find out, so why are you doing this? Is there something I need to learn from this? What pleasure do you derive from this? Okay, if you continue to do this, where will this lead you to? You must normalize the capacity to ask questions. So the right environment is very key. Many of us have developed a toxic environment, a traumatizing environment where you don't even want to listen to your child at all. It's fight every day. That is not going to help, and you're not going to win that fight because they will be looking till they are 18 before they run away from the house. So you want to create the right environment. That's why we say that parenting will change you, especially if you are raising Generation Z. Number 4, seek to understand the issues and patterns before taking a position. When you spot a behavior you don't approve of in your children, right, you want to observe that behavior from a vantage position. So let's say a child is smoking, or a child masturbates, or dealing with masturbation, or dealing with drugs. You want to find out what happens before they get into that behavior. What happened before what got them into the behavior happened. So you are showing a model. By the time you study the model and the pattern, you will see the real problem. So I work with a child, a Generation Z, who was hooked on pornography, and the parents, have done everything and it wasn't working. And so they were praying against the spirit of pornography. And what did I do? I engaged the Generation Z and I asked him, why do you do pornography? He said, I don't know. I just do it. What happened before you do it? And he said to me, when I'm extremely lonely, the next thing I do is pornography. Okay. Now, why do you become lonely, or how do you become lonely? He said, I become lonely when I'm really, really upset. What upsets you? He said, I am extremely upset when I can't have my way with my parents. Okay, why can't you have your way with your parents? He said, because it thinks that they don't understand me. They want things done their way and they are not listening to me. Now, by asking those questions, I can literally see the pattern. The real problem is there is a friction between him and his parents, and he doesn't know how to handle rejection. So I took him through a session on handling rejection and how things doesn't have to go his way, but you can always reach a compromise that is win-win. By doing that, he learned how to handle rejection. By handling rejection, he was no longer extremely upset. By not extremely upset, he was no longer lonely. By not being lonely, he couldn't do porn anymore. Because I isolated the problem and I dismembered what would have led to a porn ending. So you need to seek to understand the issues. Don't call everything spirit, the spirit of Jezebel, the spirit of lawlessness, the spirit of Generation Z. There is nothing called those spirits. You need to observe and be willing to seek what the real issues are. And that takes me to number 5. You need to get them to belong to a village or a community that is in sync with your values. If you forget anything I've taught you today, this is the most critical part, especially for the African child, for those of them who live in the diaspora. Lack of an intentional community is killing our children faster than any other thing. So if they don't have a regular meeting they attend, if they don't have a place they belong to, what begins to happen to them is that they feel isolated. And when they are isolated, there's no vacuum in life. All kinds of people with funny behaviors that will tell them, don't you think you're a woman in a man's skin? They will begin to communicate with them and they will look happy. Or people with drugs begins to show up. Because there is an emptiness within, that emptiness must be filled with something. They begin to get into funny things that you don't want them to get involved with. And that is why we now say it must take a village to raise a child. And that is why you must get into co-parenting. What this simply means is find 5 families, 10 families who share similar values as yours and raise your children together, raise a curriculum together and share that curriculum with yourself and constitute a regular village meeting so that your children can grow in line and with their peers who share similar values. Finally today, before I take your question, the future is powered by tribes. And your children must understand this power and belong to tribes. If you can get your Generation Z into the right tribe, trust me, you can go to bed. But in getting them into a tribe, every tribe must align with 6 critical qualifications. 1, every tribe must have a united cause born by shared history of pain or victories. Number 2, they must have a language and a religion that governs their belief system. They must have what we call anchor. Number 3, there must be a shared sense of belonging and superiority. When they belong to a community, they must know that when I emerge from that community, I'm not a normal person. You know, right now, when people say the Africans, it looks like we are, left behind people. No, but there's beauty about us. We are excited people, we are hardworking people, and we are innovators. That's what we do in the diaspora. That's the way we call ourselves. We are not apologetic about the fact that we are fun-loving people. We love fun. But in the midst of that fun, we must collaborate. In the midst of the collaboration, we must innovate. And we must add value wherever we go. Number 4, a unique and identifiable culture, which is what is missing and is getting many children to misbehave. Number 5, a legend that is consistently repeated till it becomes true and real. So we must now harness our history and turn it into an empowering story that is repeated for all these children to own and promote. And lastly, there must be a behavior and attitude that shows up in their norms, including what they accept, reject, and even eat or not eat. So they must be free enough to say, you know what? I'm an African. You can believe what is believed. In Africa, we don't believe this, right? And I am entitled to also believe what I want to believe. That is the future. So the almighty question is, what will you do differently to assist your children become the best version of themselves? I haven't taught you what I've taught you today. You realize that the change resides with you. Now, you must remember that our light must shine in darkness, and the light represents your children. And darkness must never be able to comprehend it. What darkness cannot, however, comprehend is a place where there is unity. And that's why one of the things we've done over the last 1 year is to collaborate with families. What we are saying is, you know what, I know we're busy. Many of you are busy. Can we collaborate with you? And we've collaborated with a number of families. So we have children that we are mentoring, African children strictly, from ages 8 to 18. Parents send them to us. We have 3 semesters in a year, and we have a dedicated curriculum that we intentionally develop that can produce a next generation of African leaders and African influencers wherever they go. And that's what we've done. And the result has been massive. So I'm going to appeal to you as a parent, in case your child does not have any community, you can join our community. We are going to work with them, but we will also be able to give you reports about how your children are doing every 3 months. But beyond that, we will also be able to support you in case you notice anything. Instead of going to pay for another professional, we have our mentors who are going to work with you around the year. The light of our children must shine in darkness, and darkness must not be able to comprehend them. That is the charter, because there is so much chaos all over the globe right now. African parents must rise and push back the ends of this enemy and say enough. But how are we going to do that? Is to script our children for success, wherein they are proud of their identity, they are proud of their heritage, they are proud of who they are, and they can stand shoulder to shoulder with anyone in any part of the world without feeling that they are inferior. They are not inferior. But these are the things we need to do. If we do it right, trust me, our children will turn out right. One of the things I say finally is that by 2040, they said depression will be the #1 killer across the globe. And you know, this will affect mainly Generation Z and Alpha. What if we can create another group of people who are the happiest people on earth by 2040? But that is going to happen if we all collaborate to make it work. So I'm hoping that your children will join our Ready for Life community, where we are scripting the next generation of African heroes every Saturday. Classes are every Saturday, 13 weeks per semester, 3 semesters in a year, right? From ages 8 to ages 18, different set of curriculum, different sets of assignment. We believe that your children can join our family, they can join our community, and together we can deliver the future of Africa. I'm going to stop here so that I can take your question. Tolani, over to you.
Wow, wow, wow. You all can agree with me that this has been an amazing session. I need you all to go into the chat room and tell me how you feel right now. I'm feeling super excited. I'm excited because all the parents who have joined us, whether on Zoom or on YouTube, have gotten value on how they can better parent. A lot is happening. Go into the chat room and tell me how you feel. Precious said mind-blowing, impressive, very expository, awesome session. Go into the chat room and let me know how you feel about this session. YouTube people, where are you? Let me know how you feel about this session. Thank you so much, Mr. Praise for Wowe. Now, what I need you to do is to begin to drop your questions. What are the questions that you have? Mr. Prince is right here to answer all your questions. Okay, thank you, thank you. Let me know how you feel about the session. YouTube people, I can see you. I'm super excited, okay? God bless you, Mr. Fowowe. Thank you, sir. I really learned a lot. Fireful, excited. Okay, keep it coming, keep it coming. Session was awesome. Thank you, my YouTube people. It's looking like I'm feeling YouTube people more than I'm feeling Zoom people. What's happening? Okay, I've learned so much, man. This session was awesome. Yes, you agree with me that this is the bomb. Even I have learned so much from this session. Time well spent. Beautiful. Now, what I need you to do is to begin to drop your questions. Please begin to drop your questions. If you have dropped your question and I missed it, please drop it again. I think I saw a question somewhere. How can my children join the coaching class? The admin will drop the link shortly, and then you can sign up your children. Thank you, Pierre, for this again. Someone says, I'm hopeful for the future with this. Yes, I am hopeful too. Okay.
Someone is asking on YouTube, what about 20 years? Now, 20 years, what we have for 20 years is what we call a fellowship program. It's a 13-week mentoring program. It's once a year. And I think the next one is in August, where we expose them to a whole lot of African guys doing top stuff abroad, and within Africa, we will announce and we'll send that to your inbox. But for those of you asking, how can you join? I'm sure they will drop the links. We have different classes in Africa, within Africa, and outside of Africa. So we have classes in North America, and the facilitators are all based in North America. And we have classes in Africa, and they're all based in Africa. So they will send the links with you. We share the links with you, and you can sign up your child, right? If there are other specific questions that I need someone is asking, can we get the video? Yes, it's on YouTube. You'll be able to listen to it. Yeah, you'll be able to listen to it again and again. You can share with your friends. People are saying this is more than I expected, and it was for free. Yes, that's what we do here. We share I mean, our job is, Africa is not, we are not incapacitated. Trust me. I've lived in Africa, I've lived in the UK, I'm now living in North America, and trust me, I have led everywhere I've been to. So we're not incapacitated. There is so much more in us. We only need to believe in ourselves and collaborate to do the right thing. So yes, that's what we need to do.
Okay, Oluwakemi says, thank you, PF, for this again. Each time I listen to you, it's always full of learning. Thank you, sir. My take home is on the curriculum and blueprint. It is needed, important to have this. So please, while you are dropping your question, I also need you to drop your take home. What are you going to be doing differently? Please let us know if you have something for the ages 5 to 8 too, so that we can work with them as they grow. Yes, if you go to our website, you will see materials that you can use for your children for ages 5 to 8. We have what we call Super Kids. It's a book that you can use to checkmate sex predators for your children. You can get that on our website. Admin, please drop the website. And if you go to our learning resources on the website for our courses, you would also see materials that you can use. All right, really awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me know what your learnings are. Yes, for people asking for recording, yes, it's on YouTube. If you go to our YouTube page, it's just there. All you need to do is to listen again. Please, what are the procedure for my kids to join the session, the coaching session? The link will be dropped. All you need to do is to join in. But then I have a few questions here. Somebody has asked the question.
Dr. Tolu is asking, please, I have a question. I and my husband don't seem to agree when it comes to raising our children. He believes in spanking, shouting, and following our parents raised us the African way. After we turned out well, now my 7-year-old son has started lying. He's quite opinionated and Eddie. He would argue with his way out of anything. I try to be patient and talk to him, even though it drives me crazy. My husband thinks I'm too lenient. He has started spanking and threatening our son. It's working, but I don't believe it will last. Now that your children have, if you are spanking and yelling and threatening the child, and the child has adapted, you don't have to be excited about that. The question is, what is dying in that child? Because what must never be compromised in the child is your child's ferocious curiosity. When a child is lying, that child is communicating something. The psychology of lie is that I do not believe that you trust my truth and that you can accommodate my truth. So I have to lie to save me from the pain and to save you from yelling. Now you want to sit with that child because it's not impossible that that child will lose confidence with time. And if you have already normalized correcting the child by beating, you will be needing to beat him for the rest of his life. But you know that you cannot beat a behavior out of a child. The child needs to behave himself out of that behavior. So conversations become very, very important. If you threaten a child, if you raise a child through threat, you will raise a traumatized child who is going to threaten his own child, right? Many parents will say to me, but we turn out right. What is our definition of turning out right? Is it because we are not, many of us don't know the mental health problem we have. It's because we don't do evaluation in Africa. Someone said that we are not normal at all. That is just maybe the Holy Spirit that is calming us down, or therapy that is calming many of us down. Many of us are not normal. Some of the time when you just shout and yell and scream, or you shout on the traffic, you think you're normal, you're not. So when we say we turn out right, what exactly do we mean? A people who are disciplined, we create a disciplined environment. That the Nigerian and African environment looks scattered is proof that we were domesticated. So please, what I think you need to do, Dr. Tolu, you and your husband need to create what we call a parenting charter. I'm going to recommend our course for you, The New Rules of Parenting. I think there's a session in June. You might want to join from next Sunday. It runs for 4 weeks. If your husband can join in, that will be fantastic. There you will be able to create your parenting charter. You'll be able to run an assessment for your children and create what we call the user's manual of all your children. In that user's manual, you will discover who your child is and how best to correct that child, right? Because if you break his spirit out of yelling and shouting and spanking and threatening him, you will have another child that you won't even understand at the end of the day. The ferocious curiosity of a child must be preserved against all odds. Yeah.
All right. Someone says, is it true? Okay, so let me ask the first question. It says you talked about scripting and making them feel like they own it. Please make it practical.
Sorry, can you come again?
When you were talking about scripting, when you were talking about when you want to scripting your children, and talking about when you want to make any decision in the family, you need to, carry them along. The person is saying, make it practical. Give us a practical example, making them feel like they own what it is that we're creating together as a family.
So for example, we have a family vision when we got married, right? And when my children when my son was, I think, 13 and my daughter was like 10, my children called us and they said, Dad, before we were born was when you did this, and we didn't have any input in it. We don't even understand this vision. Can we recreate one that collectively meets everyone's desire, and can we make input? And we said, why not? Right? So we sat over the vision statement of the family, and then they talked about what they want in there, and we made the input, and we said, okay, what is the implication? The implication now is our rituals and routines in the family we need to change. Someone we need to champion these courses. So they took responsibilities. One said, okay, I'll be the enforcer, and I will ensure everyone gets the right things done. And by doing that, they were part of it, they promoted it, and life became easier for us. Another thing would be in creating your what's it called now? Your timetable for eating, right? When I was growing up, my father's appetite determined what we ate in the family, right? And we didn't like that. Now, right now, when we are creating meal plan, everybody's input is there, right? The only thing we will not compromise is balanced diet, right? And so within the ambit of balanced diet, what do you want to eat? So sometimes we want to eat amala. Someone says, oh, I don't like amala. Okay, so what is the alternative? The implication of that is everybody in the family needs to cook. So in my family, for example, once you are age 7, we start teaching you how to cook. By age 9, everybody cooks, right? That is the implication. And that is practicality of what I've shared, right? If you don't carry them along in the critical critical decisions, they can sabotage it. And that's why it's co-creation when you're dealing with Generation Z and Generation Alpha. I hope that answers that question.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Someone else is saying, how do we balance out dialogue with a child of 4 years?
How do you do what?
How do we balance out dialogue with a 4-year-old child?
Well, a 4-year-old, so there are different frames in a child developmental cycle. From age 0 to 3, you don't judge a child's potential, you just observe and interpret. Your role is a scout at that age. Now, from ages 4 to 6, your role changes from scouting to a model. At that age, your child learns from what they see you do. So you need to model competence, you need to model excellence, you need to model communication, right? You need to model the right things at that age. From ages 7 to 9, you move from modeling to an instructor. That is when you begin to teach the critical lessons you want your children to master. From ages 10 to 12, you move from an instructor to being a friend. At that level, you learn their dance steps, you learn their slang, you learn their style, you become their student, and literally they're teaching you so that you can have expression within their lifestyle cycle. Now, from ages 13, you move to becoming a coach. What does a coach do? A coach helps a child create strategy, balance perspectives, and help a child own their decision, right? So we usually recommend that parents should take a course on coaching once their children attain the teenage years, because parenting is an 18-year curriculum. What happens from age 19 is your report card. So you must know when to switch. And the complication of parenting is you can have 3-4 children within those 4 age ranges. So how you now begin to switch from one to the other is actually where the hard work is. But that is what you need to do. Now, I saw another question. Someone is asking, what about children in the boarding house? What do we do with them in this curriculum? Now, you can talk to the school of your children. We have some schools that have taken the curriculum. For example, I know in Nigeria, Ambassadors College Ota was the first school that took the Ready for Life curriculum, and they run it now as a curriculum across their primary to secondary school rather. Chrisland now has it. They have started running it. They are in their first session already. after the last case that happened, and they're doing very well with it, right? And we have some other schools who are now joining to take the curriculum to take care of children in the boarding house, right? So you can talk to the school, we can reach them, we'll train their teachers on how to deploy the curriculum so that your children can have it. But we have programs when they come for holiday as well, and like we said, the curriculum there's the diaspora one, if you're living in outside of Africa, and if you're living within Africa, different set of teachers and different set of time zones as well. And so the admin can drop the link for Africa, then the link for outside of Africa as well, so that it's easy on people. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Someone says, I'm afraid of failing as a parent, but I communicate too, yet it isn't having the kind of effect I and Obi wants.
Sorry, can you take that again?
I am afraid of failing as a parent, but I communicate too, yet it isn't having the kind of effect I and Obi wants.
Okay, well, again, I'm going to ask, who is your child? Oftentimes we are communicating, but we are communicating the wrong way to the wrong child or to the right child. So if your child is an intimidating Omar, the style for communicating with an Omar is different. A superior argument with the Omar, because the Omar is going to argue with you. That's a child that is likely going to argue with everything you're arguing with. Will attempt to break the rules. So it's superior delivery. You need to show them why what you're asking them to do really, really makes sense. Now, if you are communicating with a creative convertible, you can't yell and shout on them because they'll begin to pretend. Creative convertible, if you have a child who is looking for socks, who is looking for shoe, a child who comes home on Friday, you say, you do have homework, he says, I don't have homework. But on Monday starts to cry, why are you crying? My homework. But you say you didn't have homework. Honestly, he has forgotten because play is his middle name, right? So communicating with that child is totally different. You need to speak to their soul. Then if you are dealing with a dependable truck, that's a child who is slow and steady. Now, a dependable truck, you cannot just move him and order him around because they process things slowly. But when they are sure of what to do, you can be sure they will deliver it. Now, the way you deal with that is totally different. Then you have the systematic forward, who is the perfectionist. If you have a child who is always saying, my place, my mom, my dad, nobody should tell me, who is reporting everybody, that is systematic forward. You need to use facts and figures and data to convince them before they do what they need to do. So it depends on who your child is based on their personality type and how you are attempting to communicate with them. So I'm going to recommend to you that you take a course on child's personality discovery and learn to script your child. That might help you. Now, I saw on YouTube, someone is asking, how do you get help when you yourself need help as a parent? What I think you need to do is, especially for those of you dealing with trauma, there is something we do in our Alpha Coach Parenting course for those in the diaspora. And I think the same course is the new rules of parenting for those in Nigeria and Africa. The first module is about healing. So there is an assessment we run that tells you your happiness index. In that happiness index assessment, we deploy what we call the tree of life model to analyze your trauma. And usually, a lot of parents score less than 30. If you score less than 30 in that assessment, it means you have been highly traumatized in your childhood. What we take you through is a healing process. I mean, if you go on my YouTube page and Google healing by Praise for Where, you might be able to find something on healing, right? That's if you don't want to attend that course, but I would recommend that you take that course because it will help you. There's so much to unpack in there, right? But if you say you don't have money, you don't want to take that course, just go on my Google YouTube page and Google healing, right? Or search for healing by Praise for Where. You might find the link. Just take yourself through it, answer all the questions there. You can self-heal. And you see, once you change the narrative of what your trauma will mean to you, you are fully free. Because it takes a wholesome parent to raise a wholesome child. If you yourself are traumatized, and some of the effect of trauma is yelling, shouting, slapping a child unnecessarily, beating a child in anger, is part of the trauma you were subjected to as a child. There are better ways right now. Do you know that withdrawing certain privileges from a child can be more painful than beating? Or collecting the phone for like 48 hours may be more painful than beating. But many of us, all we know is beating. And we beat. The things never changes. So there are better ways to raise a successful child. I hope I've answered that question.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Praise. Someone says, Good evening, Mr. Pre. God bless you for the good work you're doing. Please, I know a teenage boy who has started smoking and indulging in pornography. Please, what can be done to help him? Do you have a program for such?
Yes, we have a program for children dealing with addiction. It's called the SPEED system. You will need to talk to us off camera, and then we might need to analyze your child first to know exactly what is going on with that child. And because pornography can be exploratory, maybe, or it can be induced. So maybe it's in a school and someone talked about, oh, there is something on porn and blah, and he went to check. I've seen a child like that. But in other cases, if it's a teenager, pornography is an escape where the child is trying to mask and cover some. We need to find out exactly what it is. Once we figure it out, creating an intervention becomes very easy. Yeah.
Okay. Someone says, I and my husband don't seem to agree when it comes to raising our children. He believes in spanking, shouting, and following the way our parents raised us. After all, we turned out well. Now, my 7-year-old son has started lying. He's quite opinionated and heady. He would argue his way out of anything. I try to be patient. Okay.
I've answered that question, Tolani.
Okay, I think we've answered this question.
Yeah. I'm saying on YouTube, people are saying that your seller link page not found. So please, can you give them the appropriate links to diaspora and the appropriate links to Nigeria? For those of you on YouTube, they're asking that question. Okay.
There's another question here.
Okay.
It says, at what age can one discover children's personality?
Ideally, I would recommend age 6. That's when you can run a proper assessment that at least can give you a clue. So I would say you start running the assessment at the age of 6, but your child can show you tendencies, maybe from age 3, that can suggest what their personality type is. Yeah.
Someone says, if you have yelled and shouted, e.g., wrong parenting style, and the child is formed, what do you do? Already the child is an adult, is opinionated and only listens to himself. Well,
you need to go to that child and apologize. Let the child also assess you and ask the child to rate your parenting based on his experience with you. And don't be ashamed for the child to give you feedback. If he says that you scored F9 or you failed, please take it in your stride and ask the child, how can I be a better parent to you? Let them know that you did the best you could with what you knew. There's no shame in admitting that you were wrong. You could have done better if you knew better. So go apologize and broker truce between you and your child. There is still a lot you can do to influence that child, but they need to sincerely see that you're sorry. And I think that's the starting point for you.
Thank you. Please, if you have dropped a question and let's say I've missed it or that question has not been answered, please, you can copy and drop it again. Joy, has your question been answered? You say, how do I handle a child who does not relate well with her mother because she thinks she's always against her? The mother is just trying to instill discipline in her.
Well, if your child feels that you are always against her, well, I think it's looking like it's a communication issue. And I always say to teenagers and generations, no matter how wicked you think your parents are, they mean well for you. Maybe the style is wrong, right? So every time there is no rapport, every time there is resistance from a child, it's proof that there is no rapport. So what you want to do is to learn to build rapport. So go to that child and ask, how best do you think I can correct you? How would you want to be corrected? And whatever the child says is the best way to be corrected, you do that and check if there is an improvement. That's what I think you should do. On YouTube, I can see, good evening, Mr. Praise. How do you do with a 4-year-old who responds to correction and instruction by throwing tantrums? That is looking like that's looking like an intimidating Omar child. You want to, how do you do this correction? Do you shout? Do you yell? What is your style? You have not told us what your style is. But let me tell you, when a 4-year-old throws tantrums, is their way of saying no. Is their way of saying something is amiss, right? So it might not even be as much as about your correction as saying that I am not saying no. It might be a way of showing you that also I'm developing a mind of my own. I want you to respect me. So I want you to study that child and try and use another approach and see if the response is still the same. If the response is perpetually the same, regardless of the approach you have taken, then you might want to see a professional, maybe a child psychologist, to find out what is going on there. But also there's someone is saying, hello, my 11-year-old daughter and 7-year-old son are always bickering. They are always arguing. What can I do? I mean, that looks like sibling rivalry, or they are ages 11 and age 7, right? The tendencies of age 11 and 7 is totally different. 11 is in transition age. That's in between being a child and being a teenager. 7 is still a child, right? So if the 7-year-old is a boy and the 11-year-old is a girl, maybe the girl always feels, I'm older than you, I should be able to correct, control, and command you. The 7-year-old feels, I'm a guy. So it could be the ego of a boy speaking in him, right? And so what you will need to do is to get them to work together, right? And so, for example, you can simulate activities like, we're going to, I'm going to teach you how to cook. You cut the fish. You are going to fry the fish, right? At the end of the day, we eat the fish together to know, and we're going to discuss it to say, how did we produce this fish, right? So he's going to say, oh, the boy was the one that caught it. I was the one that fried it. So within this process, which one is most important? Every part of the aspect was important because he helped us arrive at a conclusive end, right? So you are teaching them collaboration. That it's better to collaborate than to grow apart. And you see that they argue with themselves. There's nothing really wrong with it. It just means that the way they see life is totally different. And that is also accepted. Two people can see the same things differently, and both of them are correct. So don't always think that they have to always align, but it must be done within the ambit of respect. So when they disagree, they can raise their hand. Oh, I disagree respectfully, and the other person can disagree respectfully. But I think it's more of collaboration that is needed here. How do you deal with a teenager that's always quiet, even when you engage her in discussion? That is a dependable truck. I think you need to take a session on the personality analysis. That's a dependable for they are okay by themselves. They would rather lock themselves up than show up with people. That's just who they are. As long as they're not disturbing your peace, I think they're fine. How do you handle a child who loves to drums and preaches but reluctantly in doing schoolwork, right? That can be a creative convertible. Creative convertible usually don't like schoolwork because they would rather play than do schoolwork, right? And so if you tied a reward to the schoolwork, they'll begin to do it. So if you say, if you finish your schoolwork, you will draw a beat, do we play drums or something, right? So that's the way to get them to do it, because if it doesn't look like play or fun, it may bore them. Someone is saying, my 2-year-old is going to 3. How do I make her obey instruction and behave well? Please, ages 2 and 3 should be playing. Let them play. Right? I don't know the instruction you want them to be obeying, right? Just let these children play. Don't be agitated over anything. Someone is saying, this is simply mind-blowing. Thanks for all the deep truth. Please explaining what scouting is for 0 to 3. Scouting is what a scout does. A scout is observing and interpreting. So you have a child who is using pencil to hit the table and break the pencil. If you observe, that child is playing drums. It's not disturbing the peace. There's a music in him. So you might want to quickly get him drumstick, get him drum set. The child is showing tendency. So ages 0 to 3 is the purest form, purest version of your child. And that's the age where you can easily decipher, the signal your child is sending. So that's what that says. How do I deal with a 5-year-old that is not expressive? He will not say thank you, nor sorry when there's a need. That's a systematic fault. If you check you and your spouse, one of you have that behavior. Right? So you need to find out which of you. So which of you that has that behavior that never says I'm sorry and never says please, get that person to start saying please and sorry. This child will follow suit. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
Yes, someone says, please, how do you realign teenagers who have become so used to gadget use? They spend their day between TV use, phone, tabs, etc.
And well, you need to create household activities that can take that away. If we don't create enough household, for example, create a movie night, for example, watch a movie together without the tabs. Nobody brings their tab to our movie night and nobody brings their phone. When I go to the cinemas in the US, they tell you your phone must not be on. So the same way, simulate that, let them have human conversation, go on walks together, exercise together, create family activities that you can all do together that doesn't require your phone. That's one of the ways to get this done. And I think there's another question.
The curriculum for a school.
You can get the curriculum for a school, but they can't deploy it without her. So it might be good for the school to talk to us, and then we'll show them how to do it. My 7-year-old daughter doesn't like doing chores. I was beating and punishing her when she does it, but those are not working. What can I do? So I'll tell you that we never told our children to do household chores. They met us doing household chores, and they simply copied us. My children wash their plate because they met me washing my plate. And the household law is that when you finish your food, you must wash your plate immediately. These children learn from what they see us do. And honestly, for many of us, washing of dishes or doing household chores is always tough, right? So what I do sometimes, especially when it's time for my daughter to mop, or maybe she's going to play basketball and she's tired, I join her to do it. And sometimes they do it, but they do it hurriedly, not to our taste because we have not set the standard. So when you come back, it looks like they didn't do it, and they say, I did it, you say they're lying. They actually did it, but they did it to their own taste, not to your own taste. You now need to show them your own taste and make it easy for them to do. That's what I think you should do. Mr. Praise, I'm in the UK, and I've restricted my 9-year-old from mingling with the white girls. The girls are friendly, but I'm being careful as I hear and see what they become. They go as fighting on WhatsApp, and the school has sent a warning, but my daughter is not in the group, but she lacked concentration and need help. Don't totally isolate your child. Interacting with others is where you learn social skills. However, teach your child your family values, let her be an ambassador of your family values, and when she goes to interact with those people, normalize having conversations about what they're discussing and what she's learning and what she thinks is right or wrong from their conversation. I think that is because your child will build confidence, by interacting with other people. Sometimes they will bully her, but she will come to you and say they are bullying her. Your response to her is what builds resilience in her. Isolation is also counterproductive. So don't totally isolate your child. YouTube, how do you deal with 10-year-olds who struggle with focus? Every one of us was told to focus. But our parents did not teach us how to focus. Now, how do you get children to focus? Very simple. Create a start and end to every activity. So make every activity into a process. For example, my children weren't laying their bed because they couldn't concentrate. So we created a sleeping process that starts with having your bath, wearing your pajamas, but you never stop sleeping until you lay your bed. So sleeping stops when you lay your bed. Eating process starts when your plate is washed and dished. It ends when the plate is washed. So they have an entry and exit. If you create that around several activities, they will begin to master focus. Let's not forget that we were told to focus. We were not taught on how to focus. And it also depends on the attention span of the child you're dealing with. Creative convertibles have low attention span. There's nothing wrong with them, right? So what it means is you want to break their learnings into 10 minutes. They do 10 minutes, they walk around, do another 10 minutes. If you break it into tranches like that, they would have mastered what needs to be done. There are too many questions. Wow.
I think we'll just take the last one.
Yes, I have a 23-year-old whom I have apologized for poor parenting, but is still very edgy and rude. Now, being rude is responding to trauma, right? And so don't count it as rude. I want you to focus on what is good about that child and acknowledge what is good. Close your eyes to the part of him that is rude. Focus for the next 30 days on what is right about that child. You can go read my book, Out of the Box Parenting, or you can get on our website to get my course on handling an erring child. Handling an erring child is a 7-step process that will totally transform you with this child. Focus for the next 30 days on what he does right and talk about them. Exaggerate is right and don't even talk about is wrong. You will see a change and you will come and thank me. How do we run the assessment for a child's personality? That is within a course called the Alpha Code Parenting on the New Rules of Parenting. You can take that course. My child has a serious anger issue. Anger is a secondary emotion, right? So you need to find out, why is that child unnecessarily angry? Is that child angry? Because anger is different from rage. If the child is angry and destroys things, that's rage. Rage means there is something, an underlying issue that you want to pay attention to. But it's just anger. You want to find out, why is the child unnecessarily angry? Maybe the child lacks capacity to take rejection or undo things that doesn't go his way. So that is a lesson. What you can do is search for videos on YouTube that talks about anger management, that talks about rejection, handling rejection. Watch those videos with that child. There could be movies, and review them with the child and help the child develop skills to handle rejection. Basically, that's what we need to do. I think we've answered a lot of questions today. You can reach us via email. I believe I will see some of your children at Ready for Life Diaspora class, because that's the one I'm in America. The ones in Africa also, I show up there once in a while, but they have super mentors. All of them are certified. And together we can raise a new community that will transform our world. Some other time we'll come your way again with another webinar, but I hope we get to see your children. They can still join. The semester is on. And let's collaborate with you to script your children for success. Thank you very much. God bless you. I leave you in the hand of Tolani.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Praise Lord. And thank you for everyone who has joined us tonight. Please remember that the Ready for Life Mentoring Program is for ages 8 to 18 years. We have 6 different classes. They meet on Saturdays, whether you are in Africa or you are in diaspora. For Africa, my admin will drop the link right away so that you can sign up your children, or you can as well go to our website, www.iampraisefulworld.com. If you go there, you will see all the different packages that we have for you. We are here to make your lives better. We're here to make parenting better, your marriage better. Even as a single parent, we are here for you. So apologies for everyone who we could not answer your question tonight. We're far behind time and we need to go. But you need to follow us on our social media platform. You can go to Instagram, you follow us. On YouTube, you can also subscribe to our YouTube page so that whenever we have any meeting like this, you can get notified that we're starting a meeting, and then you can always join in. Thank you for everyone who's joining. I can see thank you. It's enlightening. Ready for Life is a must for your children. You heard all what Mr. Praise always talked about. These people are intentional about conditioning our children. It's also important that we take this seriously. Don't say, oh, I'm already paying school fees. I don't have money for this. When your child start picking up behaviors that you're not comfortable with, you would have the money to actually take them into therapy. If they're hooked on, say, pornography or on drugs, you would have to look for the money to ensure that they get help. Rather than waiting for things to happen and then you are reacting to it, why not be proactive and ensure that they are safe and these things do not happen? So I would implore everyone on the call, go into the chat room. I can see the links. If you're outside Africa, the link is there. You can click on it. If you're within Africa, the link is there. If you're saying, oh, I don't have the money right now, but I want a payment plan, you can also reach out to us. Admin can also help drop the phone number. You can reach us on +234 081 25 124 10. You can send us a WhatsApp message. You can call us. You can send us a text. Or you can also send us an email at info@iampraisefulworld.com. info@iampraisefulworld.com. I'm sure that my admin is somewhere. She's going to drop our phone number. She's going to drop our email addresses. If you say, oh, I'm a parent, I'm hurting, I need help, I need healing, I need a counselor or therapist to work with me, you can also reach out to us, and then we would ensure that you get the appropriate help that you need. I'm still right here. If you have any questions about the class, I am here to answer all your questions. But if you have other questions about parenting that we've not answered, watch out for our mails, watch out for our classes. We would have some webinars that we can use to answer all your parenting questions from time to time. And that's why it's very important that you go and follow us on Instagram, Facebook. You just check us out. I am Praise for We're right there on every platform. On Instagram, we're Praise for INT. Praise for INT on Instagram. You can check us out and follow us. And on YouTube, you can subscribe, like, comment. Let us know that you got value from this session. If you can turn on your notification, it will be great so that the next time we are live, you get to join us. How much is the Ready for Life program? Okay, for a month it's 15,000 naira. For a semester is 40,000 naira. We've given you a discount. Yes, it's runs just like a school. We have 13 weeks in a semester. That's like 3 months within a semester. So every month you get to pay 15,000 naira, or if you're paying for a semester, you get to pay a 40,000 naira for your child. And if you have more than one child, let's say you have 2 children or you have 3 children, yes, you get to have a 20% discount for your children. So for people who have more than one that want to join us, yes, you get a siblings discount. So I want to say thank you, sir, for all you do for parenting. God bless you more. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hurry up and go to our website, and I have amazing offers waiting for you on the website. If you are outside Africa, you can go to praiseforwardtech.com. If you're in Africa, you can go to iampraiseforward.com. Just go to our website. Amazing value is waiting for you. Thank you so much once again for everyone who's joined us tonight. I'm super excited to have you on the call. You can always reach out to us if you have further questions on WhatsApp or send email to us. We are right here and we will attend to you speedily. Thank you so much again, and good night, everyone.